I Love You. The digital world in the early 2000s was a naive and trusting era. Email was widely used, but most people didn't suspect malicious attachments. Onel de Guzman, a struggling computer student in the Philippines, needed internet access but couldn't afford it. He then saw an opportunity by creating a virus that would spread via email. He could then steal passwords and bypass paid services. Creating malware and spreading it could cause chaos. But since there were no strong cybercrime laws in the Philippines, the risk of punishment was low. De Guzman used his programming skills to craft the I Love You worm, a self-replicating virus disguised as a love letter. It was unleashed on May 4th, 2000, reaching millions within hours, overwriting files and spreading uncontrollably. You see, victims would receive an email with the subject I love you and an attachment named this. The VBS extension was hidden by default on Windows, which means unsuspecting receivers couldn't tell it was a malicious Visual Basic script, and many people opened it thinking it was just a harmless love letter. Once the virus was opened, it sent itself to everyone in the victim's Microsoft Outlook address book. It overwrote video, images, audio with copies of itself. It downloaded a password-stealing Trojan to get login credentials. This virus affected over 50 million computers in just 10 days. It caused over $10 billion of damage worldwide. It even hit major government agencies like the Pentagon and UK Parliament. It infected corporations like Ford and Microsoft and other media companies. The damage was so extreme and so widespread that it caused outages and forced companies to shut down email servers. But despite all of this damage caused, de Guzman was never prosecuted. The authorities knew who did it, but since the Philippines had no cybercrime laws, there was really nothing they can do. The I Love You virus remains a landmark case in cybersecurity history. After the incident, the Philippines enacted cybercrime legislation. Many companies across the world improved email security, and it became a cautionary tale of social engineering. It was an example of how a small act can trigger a chain reaction, forcing society to evolve in response. WannaCry. In early 2017, many businesses, hospitals, and even governments relied on outdated Windows systems. Many even ignored security updates, leaving vulnerabilities unpatched. Then, a group of hackers, later linked to North Korea's Lazarus Group, discovered a powerful cyber weapon, Eternal Blue, a Windows exploit stolen from the NSA and leaked by the shadow brokers. It was a key to global chaos. The group of hackers weaponized Eternal Blue into WannaCry, a self-spreading digital plague. On May 12, 2017, WannaCry was released into the wild. WannaCry was a ransomware worm that encrypted files on infected computers and demanded a ransom payment in Bitcoin in order to unlock them. It was able to spread without user interaction using a vulnerability in Microsoft's server message block protocol. It infected over 200,000 computers in 150 countries. It infected the UK's NHS, in which hospitals were forced to cancel surgeries and turn away patients. Companies like FedEx received severe disruptions. The Russian Interior Ministry and many Chinese universities were also hit very hard. It caused an estimated $4 billion in damages. The panic it caused spread faster than the virus itself. It was wreaking havoc until a 22-year-old British researcher named Marcus Hutchins discovered a kill switch, a hidden domain that stopped WannaCry. He activated it, slowing the outbreak. The story of WannaCry is a lesson about updating your systems regularly and the danger of hoarding cyber weapons. Many governments blamed North Korea for the attack, leading to sanctions. And even though Marcus Hutchins is the hero of this story, he was later arrested for unrelated malware crimes. Creeper. In 1971, computers were the size of entire rooms, connected via ARPANET. There are no viruses, no malware, just programmers. A particular one, named Bob Thomas, sees if he can create a program that can move between computers on its own. He creates the first ever computer worm. Out of curiosity, he creates a worm called Creeper, a harmless but mischievous program. When it would move between systems, it would display the message, "I am the Creeper, catch me if you can." Then, a man named Ray Tomlinson creates a program called Reaper, the first antivirus program. It was designed to hunt and delete Creeper. Creeper was a proof of concept, testing if you can create a self-replicating program, code red. In 2001, many servers ran on Microsoft Internet Information Services, a software for web servers that had many vulnerabilities, and the field of cybersecurity is still a little naive. One of these vulnerabilities allowed for the remote execution of malicious code. An unknown hacker exploits this vulnerability. They create the Code Red virus. It infected over 300,000 servers in just 14 hours. At its peak, it infected 2,000 servers per minute. It would display this message on any website it infected. It caused over an estimated 2.6 billion in damages, and it even managed to infect the official White House website, launching a DDoS attack against it. It got so bad that the United States government was forced to change the IP address of the website. The virus would have been nearly unstoppable had it not been for a built-in kill switch. The worm actually was programmed to stop working on July 28, 2001. This event taught the world of cybersecurity that automated worms can outpace human response, and that unpatched systems are ticking time bombs. MYDOOM. The early internet was a wild west of email scams, pirated software, and unchecked vulnerabilities. People largely relied on email to communicate and would often blindly trust attachments. Then, an unknown hacker or group takes advantage of this and they create the MYDOOM virus, a worm designed to spread extremely aggressively while also launching DDoS attacks. It would send an email disguising itself as an error message or bounced email, which often contained an attachment called message.zip. Once opened, it hijacks the system by stealing email addresses and spreading like wildfire using peer-to-peer networks like Kazaa. Although spreading like crazy, the virus actually seemed to have two main targets, the SEO group and Microsoft. The attack did manage to temporarily slow down both websites. MYDOOM still to this day holds the record for the fastest spreading email worm in history. It proved the power of social engineering and cyber attacks. It cost over $38 billion in damages, and Microsoft even offered a $250,000 bounty for the identity of its creator. The person who created MYDOOM was never found. So big. In the early 2000s, the internet is booming with email communication, but spam and malware are on the rise. And just like MYDOOM, an unknown hacker or group sees an opportunity to take advantage of email attachments to spread a virus. They create the SOBIG worm, which is designed to spread aggressively, also while creating a spam botnet. SOBIG infected millions of computers, turning them into spam zombies. Later variants, such as SOBIG.F, become one of the fastest spreading worms ever, clogging corporate networks and causing entire email servers to crash. At its peak, it infected over 1 million PCs in 24 hours. It also accounted for 1 in 17 emails worldwide. It caused an estimated $37 billion in damages. Microsoft then releases patches and antivirus updates to stop the worm, and soon the botnet is dismantled. Just like before, Microsoft offered a $250,000 reward to find the identity of its creator, but still to this day, that remains a mystery. Klez, another worm that spread through mass email in the early 2000s, but this time with the ability to disable antivirus software. The trust of the average email user became Klez's greatest ally. Disguised as a harmless file, it would trick victims into running it, and once activated, it would spread silently, mutating to evade detection. Klez infected millions, deleting files, filling inboxes with spam, and it could even disguise itself as the sender's contacts. It infected over 7 million systems worldwide, and it remained in the wild for years due to its resilience. It was able to change its own code to avoid detection, and it would reinfect cleaned machines, and the email spoofing it could do made tracing it impossible. Klez was finally defeated due to a combination of many antivirus virus updates, user education, and how to spot malicious file attachments, and Microsoft releasing patches fixing its network vulnerabilities. Conficker 2008 was a little later in the early internet era, but Windows PCs, especially unpatched ones, were very vulnerable. Microsoft had released updates, but many users just ignored them. A shadowy hacker collective finds a critical flaw in Windows. They see an opportunity, a worm that can spread silently, hijacked millions of PCs, and create an unstoppable botnet. It spread via network shares, USB drives, and weak passwords. The biggest problem with Conficker was that it was able to evade military-grade detection. It infected over 10 million PCs, including government, military, and hospital systems. It caused an estimated 9 billion in damages. But there was even a bigger problem. April 1st, 2009, April Fool's Day, Conficker was set to phone home for updates. But what would this mean? Panic erupted. Will it unleash spam? Will it cause theft or a cyber war? A global security task force was formed consisting of entities such as Microsoft, Kaspersky, and even the FBI. They proceed to sinkhole its domains, managing to slow the spread of it. Conficker is still active today, but in a much more weakened state. Cryptolocker. In 2013, the internet has become a much better place for cybersecurity. In fact, things have gotten so good that people became careless. Enter a shadowy group of Eastern European cybercriminals. They develop a ransomware called Cryptolocker. It doesn't just infect computers, but it holds files hostage for cold, hard cash. It would demand payment in Bitcoin and spread via email phishing and Zeus botnets. It had over 500,000 victims in 6 months, hitting businesses, hospitals, and even government agencies, and it made an estimated $3 million in ransom payment, with the average payment being between $300 and $700. In order to take down the Cryptolocker, an international task force launches Operation Tovar. It was able to take down the Zeus botnet that the Cryptolocker relied on, and it was even able to decrypt the encrypted files that the Cryptolocker created. Even though this particular one was stopped, ransomware soon becomes an industry, inspiring copycats. The Cryptolocker ransomware taught the world that backups of your files are not optional. They are digital life insurance. Melissa, 1999, the dawn of email virality. Email is starting to become mainstream. Businesses and home users exchange Word documents freely, unaware of the lurking dangers. Microsoft Word macros intended to automate tasks are about to be one person's weapon. David L. Smith, a programmer, stumbles onto a very unique idea. What if a virus could spread itself through email attachments? Although people are more aware of this today, in 1999 this was unheard of, so he creates this virus and decides to call it Melissa, after a stripper in Florida. The funny part is that you think I'm joking. No, he actually named it after a stripper. And it's a virus that spreads. You can tell this was really personal to him. Melissa was basically a Microsoft Word macro that could replicate itself explosively. Melissa would lure unsuspecting users by hiding inside an infected Word file named list.doc, promising passwords and accounts to adult websites. Melissa manages to infect over 100,000 systems in days. It shut down the email servers of Microsoft, Intel, and Lockheed Martin. The heck were they doing on the job? And caused an estimated 80 million in damages. It managed to infect 20% of all business computers. The FBI launches an investigation and manages to track Smith through a stolen AOL account. Smith is then soon arrested. On December 10th, 1999, Smith pleaded guilty to a second-degree charge of computer theft and a federal charge of damaging a computer program due to releasing the virus. On May 1st, 2002, he was sentenced to 20 months in federal prison and fined $5,000. Anna, Anna Kournikova. In 2001, the internet was buzzing with curiosity. Email forwards, chain letters, and celebrity gossip spread like wildfire. Tennis star Anna Kournikova is at the height of her fame, and people were willing to click on anything with her name on it. A 20-year-old Dutch college student with minimal coding skills named Jan de Wit creates a virus using the famous tennis star's name. He downloads a virus construction kit, yes, those existed, and creates a simple worm. The worm spread through mass email using a picture of Anna Kournikova as bait to trick people into launching a malicious VB script file. It was able to travel through millions of emails, although it didn't really cause that much damage. It did clog some servers, but it was more of a nuisance than anything. The Dutch police are able to find the script kiddie within days, and he gets arrested and charged. He said he never really meant to do any harm, and it really didn't do that much damage. So he was sentenced to 150 hours of community service. Ironically enough, DeWitt would soon get a job in IT. Zeus. In the mid-2000s, online banking has become mainstream. People trust financial websites, and businesses rely on it for digital transactions. However, there are some weaknesses and vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. An Eastern European cybercrime group envisions a way to steal money. They create something called Zeus, a Trojan designed to infiltrate computers and steal banking credentials. Zeus had 4 primary functions: keylogging to record keystrokes and steal passwords, form grabbing to capture data from web forms, man-in-the-browser attacks for modifying banking pages in real time, and botnet control to control infected PCs remotely. First detected in 2007, its peak activity was in 2010, where it managed to steal over $70 million from bank accounts. It infected over 3 million PCs in the US alone. It targeted banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, government agencies, and corporate networks. It famously stole over $6 million from a Florida escrow firm and $1 million from a small business via ACH fraud. At this point, law enforcement had to strike back, and it did. In 2010, the FBI arrests over 100 people in Operation Trident Breach. In 2014, Operation Tovar disrupts the botnet, and in 2016, an alleged creator of Zeus mysteriously passes away. Morris. The early ARPANET was a small, trusting community of academics and government. Security was minimal, and most systems ran on default passwords. A 23-year-old Cornell grad student named Robert Morris wanted to know how big the early ARPANET actually was. He thinks of making a program to map out the network's size, so he actually creates it. This was an innocent experiment with a dangerous potential. Morris knew his program could replicate aggressively if not kept in check, so he adds a throttling mechanism. On November 2nd, 1988, he releases the worm from MIT to prevent it being traced to Cornell. The Morris worm would exploit Unix flaws, crack weak passwords using dictionary attacks, and was able to infect over 6,000 computers, which doesn't seem like much, but in the 1980s, that amounted to 10% of the entire ARPANET. It caused MIT, Harvard, NASA, and military systems to crash, and it caused anywhere from $10,000 to $10 million in damages, which, adjusted for inflation, would be $200,000 to $200 million. The worm became the internet's first major crisis. In order to deal with the problem, the internet community bands together to analyze the worm. Programmers worked through the night to develop fixes. Morris's father, a top NSA computer security expert, learns that his own son is responsible. Robert Morris was later arrested and convicted. He becomes the first person ever convicted under the 1986 Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. He was sentenced to 3 years probation, 400 hours community service, and a $10,000 fine. Afterward, he later becomes an MIT professor and a successful tech entrepreneur. The aftermath of the Morris worm led to the creation of CERT, or the Computer Emergency Response Team. The Morris worm incident taught the internet that it was more fragile than anyone had realized, and that even good intentions can still cause harm. Stuxnet. What if a computer virus can cause physical damage in the real world and potentially ignite nuclear chaos? It's the 2010s, and nuclear facilities rely on industrial control systems, and Iran's uranium enrichment plant is unaware of the coming storm. Nation-state actors identify identify an unprecedented opportunity. Could malware physically destroy nuclear centrifuges? A top-secret team begins developing the world's first digital weapon designed to cause real-world destruction. Should they cross the Rubicon into offensive cyber warfare? But the perceived threat of Iran developing a nuclear program outweighs those concerns. Stuxnet was able to take advantage of zero-day exploits in Windows, causing Iran's nuclear centrifuges to spin out of control while displaying fake normal readings, and caused over 1,000 centrifuges to self-destruct, depleting 20% of Iran's supply. Stuxnet was likely planted by spies or unknowing contractors, and was able to propagate itself by jumping air-gapped systems. As a result, Iran's nuclear program gets delayed by 2 years, and it serves as an example for proof of concept for cyber-physical attacks. Stuxnet may have opened Pandora's box. Stuxnet showed the world that code can be as destructive as bombs, and basically serves as the Manhattan Project of cybersecurity. Be sure to share this video, and thanks for watching.